Have you ever caught yourself wondering why certain men seem to magnetically draw women's attention, almost effortlessly, while others, maybe just as kind or intelligent, go unnoticed? It's like watching a silent dance where one partner knows the rhythm intuitively, and the other keeps missing the beat. What if I told you that this magnetism isn't about looks or even charm alone? It's much deeper, rooted in subtle actions that tap into a shared human experience. Actions that echo something as old as time itself, something Carl Jung explored through his understanding of human nature and relationships. Imagine for a moment you're at a cafe in downtown Austin on a breezy spring afternoon. The scent of freshly ground coffee beans hangs in the air, mixed with soft indie music playing from hidden speakers. You notice a man sitting alone, not looking around anxiously or trying too hard to be noticed. Instead, he's absorbed in his book but occasionally glances up with an ease that feels inviting rather than intimidating. There's an unmistakable calmness about him, a quiet confidence that doesn't shout but instead draws your eyes back again and again. That subtle pull, that unspoken language, is what we're about to explore. Today we'll unpack how women are naturally attracted to men who perform certain actions, 9 specific ones, to be exact, and how these behaviors resonate with deep psychological patterns identified by Jung. But before jumping into the list, let me share something. This is not about manipulation or pretending to be someone else. It's about understanding how authentic connection works beneath the surface and how embracing certain behaviors can create genuine attraction without losing yourself. I also want to say, if any part of this speaks to you, feel free to subscribe to the channel because there's more insight coming on how these ideas unfold in everyday life. Now, let's begin with the first of these crucial actions. Men who show emotional presence without overwhelming intensity. At first glance, it might sound contradictory. How do you remain emotionally present without drowning your interaction in heavy feelings? But think about it. When someone is truly present emotionally, they're neither absent nor excessively intense. They don't rush to fix everything or avoid discomfort by changing the subject. Instead, they meet emotions with steady calmness. Picture a man named Lucas. He's a 29-year-old graphic designer living in Brooklyn who recently started dating someone new after years of focusing on work. At their second coffee date, his date confessed feeling nervous about an upcoming job interview. Rather than jumping into reassuring cliches or trying to cheer her up immediately, which Lucas admits he usually did before, he simply listened and said, "That sounds really tough. I'm here if you want to talk it through." This small action, offering space for vulnerability without forcing solutions, is magnetic because it communicates safety and respect for complexity. Women often sense when emotional presence is authentic. It creates a bridge rather than a wall between two people. You may wonder why this resonates so strongly on a psychological level. Jung described how relationships are arenas where unconscious parts of ourselves get projected onto others. The so-called anima and animus archetypes representing feminine and masculine energies inside everyone regardless of gender. When a man shows calm emotional presence, he aligns with the positive aspects of the animus. Strength paired with compassion and stability paired with openness. But what happens when men are either emotionally unavailable or too overwhelming? The tension rises because those extremes trigger unconscious fears, being abandoned or engulfed, which block attraction rather than invite it. Now here's something practical for you. Try this exercise next time you find yourself in conversation with someone you're interested in, whether casually chatting or on a date. Practice noticing when emotions come up, not just your own but theirs too. And instead of reacting immediately with advice or distraction, pause briefly and acknowledge what's being said emotionally with simple phrases like, "I can hear how that feels important. That must be challenging. Thanks for sharing that." The goal isn't to become a therapist but to cultivate awareness of emotional flow within interactions without rushing to control it. If this sounds tricky at first, don't worry. That pause might even feel awkward initially because our culture often teaches quick fixes rather than patience with feelings, and yes, I have stumbled there plenty myself. But over time, this small shift can transform how others perceive your presence. It becomes less about winning approval and more about genuine engagement. Also important, observe how your own feelings respond when you offer this kind of presence. Do you stay grounded, or does anxiety creep in? This awareness will help balance authenticity without losing yourself in someone else's emotional landscape. And since we're talking about balance, remember that being emotionally present doesn't mean suppressing your own reactions either. It means allowing space for both sides without judgment or urgency. This subtle dance is like tuning an instrument. You don't want strings too tight or too loose, but just right so music flows naturally. Before moving forward, and there's more ahead, I encourage you to reflect on your recent conversations where emotions played a role. Did you notice moments where stepping back could have invited deeper connection? Or times where leaning in helped build trust? By practicing emotional presence without overwhelming intensity, men tap into an underappreciated power, a quiet magnetism that invites openness while respecting boundaries. It goes beyond words into something felt deeply by both parties. And here's a little story from my own experience that might illustrate this better. I once met Mia, a freelance writer from Portland, in early 2023 at an art gallery opening. She told me afterward how calming it was just being able to share her anxieties about career uncertainty without having anyone rush her out of those feelings or offer cliché pep talks right away. That night stuck with me because it showed me firsthand how presence itself can be one of the most attractive qualities we possess when genuinely expressed. So if any part of this resonates, or even challenges you, I'd love for you to share your thoughts below. How do you navigate emotional presence when attraction is involved? There will be more layers coming soon as we explore additional behaviors shaping attraction through psychological depths Jung hinted at long ago but are often missed today in quick dating tips or surface-level advice. For now though, imagine approaching relationships less like performances where you're trying hard to impress and more like conversations where both people feel seen. Even when things aren't perfect or neatly wrapped up. It may just change everything. And if you're curious about going deeper into these ideas beyond today's chat, there's actually a guide I put together exploring all 9 actions plus related reflections. It might help solidify what we're uncovering here bit by bit. But enough for now. Let's sit with this first action before moving forward. Because sometimes the smallest shifts make the biggest differences. Emotional presence without overwhelming intensity is more than just listening. It's offering space where attraction can breathe freely. Try experimenting with this idea over the next few days during casual talks or dates, noticing what changes inside both yourself and others. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. Authenticity matters far more than flawless execution. So tell me, what was your last experience like when emotions surfaced unexpectedly? Did you respond by stepping back or pushing forward? Sharing these moments helps us all learn together. And hey, if this approach feels useful so far, or if it makes you curious, subscribing means we'll keep exploring these layers connected closely with who we really are beneath surface impressions. Because attraction isn't magic. It's often simply meeting another person somewhere genuine, and sometimes those places are quieter than we expect. I'll catch you back soon for step 2, where things get intriguingly different yet connected, and maybe even surprising. Until then, take care of those moments where presence meets patience. They hold power most overlook. See you soon. Continuing from the idea of emotional presence, let's shift to something that often flies under the radar but holds massive sway in attraction. Authenticity through vulnerability paired with self-awareness. It sounds like a mouthful, and yes, it can be intimidating. Yet, this combination is a cornerstone of genuine connection and magnetic presence. There's a story I stumbled upon not long ago about Daniel, a 35-year-old software engineer living in Chicago who had always prided himself on being the reliable guy in his circle. When he started dating again after a tough breakup, he realized he was sticking to safe topics, work, hobbies, casual banter, but never really opened up about what was going on beneath the surface. Then came a moment when during dinner with Emma, a marketing consultant from Lincoln Park, she asked him what scared him most about relationships. Instead of deflecting or giving a vague answer, Daniel hesitated for a beat and then admitted he feared being misunderstood or rejected for who he truly was. That moment changed everything. The room softened. Emma shared her own fears too. Suddenly, they weren't just two people exchanging small talk. They were two imperfect humans daring to show their edges. Why does this matter so much? Because Jung pointed out how the masks we wear often create distance rather than closeness. When men dare to lower these masks, not as an act of oversharing but as a conscious choice grounded in self-awareness, they invite others to respond with empathy instead of judgment. This kind of authenticity doesn't mean airing every insecurity or dumping emotional baggage indiscriminately. It means recognizing and owning your inner experience while staying present and balanced. It's less about performing courage and more about embracing your real self. Here's something practical you might try next time you feel the urge to retreat behind social armor or present an idealized version of yourself. Pause before answering personal questions and ask yourself quietly, am I responding from my genuine feeling right now or from fear of how I'll be perceived? Try journaling about moments where you felt tempted to hide parts of yourself during interactions. What triggered that impulse? What would it look like if you allowed just a sliver more vulnerability? Afterward, test this gently in low-stakes conversations, maybe with friends or new acquaintances, by sharing something small yet meaningful that usually stays tucked away. Notice how it shifts the dynamic. It's tempting to think vulnerability will push people away, that exposing weakness means losing power. But paradoxically, it often becomes the strongest magnet when done thoughtfully. Now, moving onward without missing a beat. Another key action that draws women toward men isn't flashy words or grand gestures but consistent integrity expressed through follow-through on promises and actions. Let me introduce you to Marcus, a 41-year-old high school teacher from Atlanta who I met at a local community event last fall. Marcus was telling me about his dating experiences over coffee. Yes, coffee again. Maybe it's my favorite setting for these chats. He described how early on in relationships he sometimes found himself saying what he thought others wanted to hear, a date here, a call there. But gradually noticed a pattern. Excitement would fade fast if his actions didn't align with his words. So Marcus made a conscious decision to practice what he called quiet reliability. If he said he'd call at 7 p.m., he did, even if tired after work or distracted by other things. If plans changed, he communicated promptly instead of leaving silence hanging in the air. This consistency created trust without needing to announce it loudly. It became part of his presence. And here's where psychology blends with everyday life beautifully. Trustworthiness signals stability on unconscious levels and reduces anxiety in relationships. Both crucial for attraction because they meet basic human needs for safety and predictability without suffocating control. Try reflecting on your recent commitments, both big and small, with those you care about or are getting to know romantically. Did your actions match your words consistently? Were there moments where convenience tempted you to postpone or cancel without clear communication? A simple exercise is setting one small goal each day related to follow-through, like returning messages within hours rather than days, or confirming plans ahead of time instead of last-minute surprises. Observe how this attention affects others' responses and your own sense of integrity. Noticing these patterns may reveal subtle blind spots you hadn't considered before because society often rewards boldness over steadiness. Yet both qualities balance one another when cultivated authentically. And here's an aside, I find it funny how adulting sometimes feels like juggling flaming torches while riding a unicycle blindfolded. Don't try this at home. Which makes reliability even more impressive because it demands focus amid chaos. But back on track. Combining vulnerability with integrity creates fertile ground for genuine attraction that isn't superficial or fleeting. If any part resonates with you so far, or even challenges your assumptions, I'm curious, which feels harder for you in relationships? Opening up honestly, or following through consistently? Sharing struggles normalizes growth. We're all navigating these waters imperfectly after all. And speaking of imperfect navigation, have you noticed how modern dating apps bombard us with endless options but rarely encourage deep connection rooted in authenticity or reliability? Maybe these are silent clues pointing us back to basics rather than flashy tricks. Anyway, enough detours, for now. 2 simple exercises recap. 1. Journal moments resisting vulnerability. Practice sharing small truths. 2. Commit daily to one small act reflecting integrity. Note effects on interactions. These aren't overnight fixes but steps toward richer connections grounded in who we truly are beneath surface roles. If this approach intrigues you, and since we're weaving psychology into practical life, there's a resource I created detailing ways to embody these 9 actions naturally across different contexts. It might offer helpful prompts as you explore further down this path. No pressure though. Just tossing ideas into the mix for anyone who wants them. And before wrapping up this section, let me share another quick thought. Sometimes doing less impresses more than doing too much. Authenticity paired with reliability can speak louder than grand declarations full of polish but little substance. This reminds me of when Lucas, the graphic designer from Brooklyn we met earlier, mentioned how sometimes just showing up fully present without trying hard was enough for meaningful connection. It challenges cultural myths that attraction requires constant effort or performance. Instead, gentle consistency combined with honest openness crafts bonds that feel safe yet alive. What happens when those qualities are absent? Relationships often tip toward uncertainty or superficiality. Food for thought next time you catch yourself overthinking what moves might work best. I'm looking forward to diving into the rest soon. The upcoming points unfold some unexpected dynamics worth considering carefully. Meanwhile, take stock gently where vulnerability meets integrity within your current encounters. It's okay if progress feels slow or messy. That's part of being human. And hey, if any insight here lights up something inside, or sparks questions, I'd love hearing your stories down below. Because learning together makes navigating this complex dance feel less lonely. See you soon for step 3, where we'll explore even deeper layers shaping attraction beyond first impressions. Until then, keep practicing small acts rooted in truth. They may not dazzle crowds but quietly build bridges worth crossing. Talk soon. Picking up where we left off, let's explore a final but powerful action that greatly influences attraction. The ability to embody patience. Not just waiting passively, but active patience that embraces timing and respects natural unfolding. This might sound almost old-fashioned in today's fast-paced world where instant gratification often rules, yet it holds an overlooked strength. Consider Noah, a 38-year-old landscape architect living in Seattle. He was recently sharing with me how his dating experiences shifted when he stopped rushing to seal the deal or push a connection forward prematurely. Instead, he began savoring each phase, small talks, casual hangouts, even moments of silence, with an openness to what might emerge naturally over time. What stood out about Noah's approach wasn't passive resignation but rather a cultivated calmness that honored both his own pace and the other person's readiness. When his date expressed hesitation about defining the relationship early on, Noah didn't press for clarity or reassurance. He simply said something like, "I appreciate you being honest. Let's see where this goes without forcing anything." That response transformed tension into ease. Why does such patience matter so deeply? Because Jung's ideas hint at how our psyche craves harmony between conscious desires and unconscious timing. Pushing too hard often triggers resistance or anxiety. Resisting altogether leads to missed opportunities. Active patience blends awareness with acceptance, an art of balancing intention with flow. Here's a small practice you can try. Next time you sense impatience rising, whether with yourself or someone else, pause and take a few breaths. Notice the urge to rush or control and gently redirect your focus to simply observing what is happening right now without judgment. You might journal about times when impatience led to friction or withdrawal in your relationships. What could have changed if you leaned into waiting with curiosity rather than frustration? Experiment by slowing down in conversations or dates. Maybe delay jumping into heavy topics or declarations until natural openings appear. Notice how this affects the energy between you and others. This kind of patience isn't about passivity but choosing presence over pressure. A subtle yet profound shift often mistaken for weakness but actually signaling emotional maturity. It reminds me of an evening last summer when I met Carla, a 32-year-old photographer in San Francisco who spoke candidly about how embracing patience helped her avoid burnout and deepen connections beyond surface excitement. Sometimes stepping back gives space for attraction and intimacy to grow roots instead of fleeting sparks. So here we are with 3 core actions shaping authentic attraction. Emotional presence balanced with calmness, courageous vulnerability paired with self-awareness, and finally, active patience honoring timing over haste. But now comes the part that's usually glossed over, the messy human reality beneath these ideals. None of these actions require perfection. They invite exploration within our imperfect selves, navigating relationships against cultural noise shouting, "Move faster, show more," or "act cooler." It's tempting to want neat formulas, quick fixes like apps promising guaranteed matches based on checklists. Yet genuine magnetism defies shortcuts because it taps into layers beneath surface appearances. Layers Jung hinted at through archetypes and collective patterns we carry unknowingly. When I think back on moments that felt truly connected, not just flirtatious, they were often marked by pauses filled not with awkwardness but shared understanding. Places where presence met vulnerability met patience simultaneously without forcing outcomes. Imagine if more interactions embraced this triad rather than performance metrics measured by likes or swipes. What kind of relationships might flourish then? This isn't about idealizing struggle either. It acknowledges discomfort as part of growth while encouraging kindness toward oneself when stumbling happens. Which it will, because humans aren't flawless machines programmed for connection. Here's something inspiring to consider. Attraction rooted in these actions reflects not just romantic potential but fundamental ways we relate authentically across all human ties, from friendships to family bonds to professional partnerships. And since life rarely unfolds linearly, thankfully, practicing these qualities invites us into a deeper dance, not controlled choreography but improvisation tuned by awareness and heart. So maybe attraction is less about winning someone over instantly and more about cultivating relational soil rich enough for trust and curiosity to thrive over time, even amid uncertainty. If you've stayed with me through this exploration, I hope it sparks something more than strategies. It's an invitation to embrace complexity inside yourself and others without rushing past subtle signals. Try carrying one seed from today's discussion forward. Maybe active patience during conversations or sharing vulnerability bravely next time emotions bubble up unexpectedly. And notice what shifts quietly beneath the surface over days or weeks. No need for grand declarations. Just steady steps toward meeting another person as fully human as you are. And since journeys feel lighter shared, if this struck a chord, or even stirred questions, it'd be wonderful hearing your reflections below as we all learn from each other's stories navigating these layers together. Because at its core, attraction isn't magic tricks or rehearsed lines. It emerges when two people meet authentically amid all their imperfections and mysteries. I'll leave you with this thought. The most compelling presence isn't polished perfection but honest resonance. A willingness to stand vulnerably yet firmly in your truth while holding space for someone else doing the same. That delicate balance creates a quiet gravity impossible to ignore. And really, isn't that what meaningful connection longs for? Until next time, may your encounters be colored by gentle courage, genuine steadiness, and patient listening. That trio humbling enough to challenge norms yet rich enough to invite real closeness. Thanks for journeying here today. See you soon.